There was a study published in the National Library of Medicine in 2014 about the impact that forgiveness or unforgiveness has on the brain. Even the act of saying I'm sorry or someone saying that to you, what those words mean to us, how they affect our minds. And so after doing extensive research and all different types of testing, fascinating all the things they did, here are the results. It says, our results indicate a recruitment or activation of the right angular gyrus in forgiving. The right angular gyrus is a subregion of the temporoparietal junction, or TPJ. TPJ activation has been found with several paradigms that measure attention memory or social learning. More plainly, unforgiveness takes up space in our brains, literally, that cause us to not be able to learn new things, make new memories, or build new relationships. Forgiveness releases those things and causes us to be open to new experiences. We remember more and be present in the here and now. It's pretty fascinating. But the truth is, long before the National Library of Medicine knew this, God knew this because He created us. He made us. And this is where we ended the message on Sunday, talking through forgiveness, unforgiveness. From Matthew chapter 18, we looked at the story, the parable of the unforgiving servant. And so this is where we ended this weekend's message. How do we forgive? Well, Christians are only capable, really all of us, we're only capable of this type of forgiving spirit because of the Spirit of God that lives within us. It is God who provides us the ability to offer forgiveness over and over, only when we receive the forgiveness of God, because He gives it to us over and over again, endlessly. And so as we talked about forgiveness this weekend, we also have to realize that it's easier to talk about than to live out. And living it out is where this video is going to end. And so we covered the heart of forgiveness that Jesus reveals, or the why of forgiveness. Why should we forgive? As followers of Jesus, we're called to forgive. He says 7 times 7 or 7 times 70, which is a picture of endless forgiveness. And I think if we're honest, we all have relationships where endless forgiveness is needed, or we are that person. I'm that person. And they're often in the relationships that are closest to us, in our marriage, in our parenting, in our home, with those that we're called to build with. We've all got 49 people and 490 people and endless people. We talked about why and we talked about how. We dove into the parable of the unforgiving servant in Matthew chapter 18. And when we look at this story again, the king, who's a picture of God, he acts, he forgives based on pity or mercy for the servant. And this reveals that forgiveness is given, it's not earned. We can never do enough, say sorry enough, pay back enough of our debt to be forgiven, pay back what we owe for sin. It is only God's mercy. It's only in mercy that we're forgiven. Often people who have wronged us, they can never do enough to earn it back. We can't take certain things back as much as we want to. And this is why forgiveness is not always full restitution of relationship. It's not always forgetting. It's not always the friendship is back exactly where it was. We don't have to fake it, but we can be free. You can move forward without forgetting, but you can't move forward without forgiving. And you don't have to forgive and forget, but we can forgive and be free. And so we talked about why, we talked about how, we talked about what it looks like. But in this small group video, here's where I want us to go next and really in conversation. Let's talk about who. Who is it that you need to forgive. And as you listen to this video, or as you think back on the message from this weekend, the question we have to ask is, how are we going to take action? Who is God calling you to forgive? Not just more information and let's learn more, but who is it? And do you need a strategy in forgiveness? Is it right now? Do you need to go home and have a conversation with someone in your family and ask for forgiveness or say, I'm sorry? Could it be the courage to send a simple text? I need to apologize. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. Or maybe it's sitting down and writing a letter, because that's the best next step. Several years ago, I invited an older pastor into my life to help me and coach me with a lot of things, leadership questions, honestly, a lot of leadership models, examples I had seen. One of the things that he challenged me to do, or he really challenged me on, is that I was critical and I was unforgiving toward leaders in my life that I had worked for or looked up to. And to one in particular, he challenged me to write a letter because talking face to face just wasn't an option. And so it took me a little while to embrace this coaching, but we talked it out and I prayed about it. And what the challenge was, though, wasn't just in writing a letter and saying, I forgive you, but the challenge was to write a letter and say, I forgive you, but also to ask for forgiveness in this letter. And then to take a moment and be thankful and say thank you for all the things that that leader had done for me, had done in my life, had poured into me, the time and energy to go above and beyond honoring and being thankful. And I remember writing that letter. I remember walking to a mailbox and sending that letter. And I'll be honest with you, I've never heard anything back. But I can tell you that it was a defining moment in my life. Even the process, the pages I threw away in handwriting that letter. It's exactly what the National Library of Medicine reveal. It's what Jesus is trying to teach us. It is space. It is freedom. It's peace. More than just learning, but answering the question, who is it? And how do I take action? We're going to talk about this. I want to share some discussion questions with you that you can talk about in your group. And I pray the boldness and the courage, that's the word, the boldness and the courage over you to think about who and to take action really soon.